Well, hello. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and of course, all of you co hosts on the channel as we talk all things tabletop role playing games, especially here on this Future Friday about science fiction, futurism, transhumanism, and all kinds of things within the context of our collective creative sphere of influence in the tabletop role playing game community. And oftentimes, although technically we do talk a lot of role-playing games here on Future Friday, we tend to armchair analyze our way into subjects, so we're pretty open about things. And this week, Monday being a Labor Day here in the States, I thought we would talk this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday about, well, the nature of work and labor. So, of course, Wednesday we talked about overwork and unions and the labor movement, and then on Thursday we talked about laziness and how even that can be a great motivation for our antagonists. But today we're going to talk about like the disappearance of work, or maybe even analyzing what work is, and then how we can use that as a method to tell our stories, outline our adventures, and that kind of thing. So, as we all know, the nature of work has been changing, and of course, over the past year and a half or more, what we consider to be work and how work is performed has very greatly shifted. As a matter of fact, those of us in the geekosphere, we've already been online. We've been Zooming and hanging out and all that kind of business. But it was rather humorous to see news agencies and people in the corporate realm and educational sphere um, trip their way through the use of getting online and working remotely. But uh, us technophiles and geek and those of us in the geekosphere, we were already doing it, and we're kind of like laughing at the humorous nature of people having things in the background that maybe they shouldn't have in their videos, terrible audio as well, and so on and so forth. But that an aside, um, more intrinsically we think of, even today, even though people may not say it on their lips, we're all thinking about what really is the future of work. What does it look like? And more importantly, how does society value work? And I think there's a way for us to get at it. So I'm going to go through some definitions, and then I think for our conversation, especially in science and futurism, it gives us a chance to take those knobs, those volume knobs, and twist them up and down to see, like, okay, if we take this to its illogical expansion, or an extreme, what does that look like? Of course, we have movies that delve into that, like a very popular one that I believe for the almost 75% of the movie there really are there's no verbal exchange, and that's the movie Wall-E. The small robot left on Earth, little trash compactor, and he's going around making millions and millions of these little cubes of compacted trash in a vacant post dystopian Earth, post apocalyptic Earth, and even as an AI, he's like getting a longing for contact and communication, and he's saving little things, and he's got his best friend the roach that's hanging out with him. But along the definition of work, even for like physics and other things, like in physics, work is the energy transferred to or from an object via the application of force along a displacement. What is it? It's force. mm, mm, mm. Uh, yeah, it may exist in a potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, and other forms of energy, and that's more of a physics thing, which actually has a little bit to do with what we're going to talk about. But also, it's an activity in which one exerts strength or faculties to do or perform something, like an activity that a person engages in regularly to earn a living, or people looking for work. It could also be defined as a specific task, duty, function, or assignment, often being part or a phase of a larger activity. And but I think when it comes, ooh, it's just come through. I think work more than anything, I think is a definition of our value has been defined more so now than in the past as our value to society and how much society values us. And hey, M, hey, what's going on there, dude? Oh man. So Mike says labor in the future. Let's see, here we go. Mike says labor in the future is always a bit wonky in the future. Yeah, it is. Hard to define too, right? Because we don't know what work will be. And I think work has a weird connotation to it, almost negative, but I will get into that. Anyway, so Mike Gould says if you automate all work, then you have a population that becomes unemployed. When people are unemployed, then you have poverty. That is, unless you have developed a society that no longer needs money. Star Trek did that, but its society makes no real sense. It's hand waved, and I believe that like for example in Star Trek, it was designed by Gene Roddenberry, and of course I don't know exactly what the man was thinking, but it was specifically designed as a utopia, an undefined ability for them to do away with money, and we weren't supposed to be able to conceive of it. It was a blank slate utopian society for us to reflect upon other alien worlds that is a reflection of our world today, if that makes sense. So they have zero problems. I think the intention was to ensure that in the world of the Federation that they weren't supposed to have internal strife and conflict and whatnot. It was let's go out into the wider universe and see what they're up to. And then, of course, the alien worlds reflected on us. It was a storytelling mechanism, right? And, but you could, there are many societies that existed that didn't have money, but they still had work and they still had value, right? Like the exchange of, I think it's hard for us to accept um, not our current context is we perform a function and we receive some kind of value for that, which is measured in money. But I think in other ways, we are engaged in there are things that measurable that are not money, like reputation, time, your value to your community or society, whether however big or small that society is, and things like that. Anyway, Mike goes on to say, so we have Hmm. So we have to look at a future society that somehow shares all resources willingly. Outside the Borg, I've not seen it. Small communities do, less than 100, like farming communities, tribal communities, where there is no share of money, but there is share of work and value, right? Meaning oh, it's about to rain, well, we need to cover up all of these materials that can't get wet. Everybody pitches in to cover the widgets so they don't get soaking wet in a thunderstorm. Here in the States, we've got like hurricanes that sweep through, and what do people do? They get together to fill up sandbags and cover windows and things. And so you are a value to the community, and you're um you are repaid in the community valuing you, if that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah. And then far futurism when it comes to that, it's like I don't know. Mike says, and how they share isn't desirable for utopia. For utopia, they have a lot of military ranks in Star Trek, and also, despite the fact that they don't have money, if you ever take a look at Star Trek, they do have military ranks, and there's like a meritocracy. So your value in the Federation is based on your the value you bring to it, whether you're a brilliant individual, scientist, an explorer, a diplomat, and then based on that ranking, you get more access to other things like, oh, we're going to put you on the bridge of the Enterprise because you're very good at speaking 37 different alien languages, right? So there is access, and we do live in a we very much live in a reputation society. As a matter of fact, we even have a uh, I would say value based on value added society as well, like within the internet. For example, we look at Twitch and how many people play video games and OnlyFans and super chats, Patreon, Kickstarters, right? We have an ability to put value on things that is not, we wouldn't classically consider work. And I think that's where, if you want to go turn positive, twist positive on the dial, I think that's where we're going. There are many contributors online that do a thing, and people, contribute money to their efforts because they appreciate it. Your favorite music band has a Kickstarter for a new album. What happens? People donate money because they value what they're getting back, whether it's artistic or political or something like that. Thomas Anderson says hoarding is the issue with breaking sharing willingly. Okay, and anytime you are worried about the future, you return to that squirrel mentality of hoarding nuts. Yeah, don't touch my nuts. Yeah, um, and it's pretty difficult to. I mean, I think I'm a I tend to go positive on these things, but yeah, if you get rid of hoarding, th- it's also how kind of we measure our value of our work too. And if you just gave away, I don't know, high end Mercedes to everyone, like that makes the Mercedes that I worked for very, less value. So, mm, mm, mm. Gaster Two Soul says, "Ooh, I got a messed up idea. So you guys know of the book Amazing Movie 1984. Oh, you mean just 1984? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a classic, man. I read that in school. Depressing too. Anyway, Thomas Anderson goes on to say, only way to solve for that is to not only make sure there is enough for everyone, but also that there is no fear this will change. So just giving some money to people like welfare, etc., does not solve it. That being said, okay, should that be achieved, then since doing things that take more than one person working together uh, would turn clout chasing, right? Through creating new innovations that their name can be tied to. All right. So it would make others think, smart person. Maybe they're onto something with this new thing that they need extra help or hands to make it happen. Let me get in on that thing and gain clout on that. Yeah, you know what? Um, you we use the term today, crowdsourcing, right? If you take a thing, programmers are doing it all the time. There's a lot of stuff that's crowdsourced, and I think what we I think we'll always have an economy. I think the disappearance of money does not make an economy of something disappear. And so that might, like you said, it might be a clout kind of thing. Ooh, I want to be next to the smart person. I want to be next to the motivated individual. I want to be next to the charismatic individual. And that person can then motivate the energies of people to accomplish a particular goal. Um, Today, I mean, of course, we're going to talk about UBI, universal basic income, where in a very libertarian society, they would say like, listen, we're not going to have any taxes or anything. We're not going to take your money and perform a function. We're going to give you the money, and then you decide what you think that money should go to. And that can be problematic when you have to have like police and fire and education and fixing roads and things. Because some people are going to be like, well, I don't drive down that road. Why should I use my money to fix the road to the left? And so there are those kind of things, uh, but it can get very dystopian, especially when it comes to like hoarding and um, oh what's the term for scarcity? Woo, wow, man. Anyway, all right, you guys are mentioning future societies that we have seen in fiction either reflect the military, such as Star Trek, Okay, I'd say that. Empires and feudalism, like Star Wars, all right. Warlords, yeah, Mad Max, or a derelict reflection of current issues, The Expanse. Yeah, I, I kind of, despite my positive enthusiasm, I think it's going to be probably more like The Expanse. Anyway, Michael goes on to say the only societies outside these seem to be alien and then reflect something we truly do not understand, like hives and packs. I would agree with you there. And the Star Trek ism of aliens, of course, which is a the goal is to tell a particular story, so all the aliens seem like homogenized, even if they are a weird, twisted reflection of us today. It's always homogenized. Hey, one simple starship from the Federation finds an alien planet, and they just so happen to be able to communicate with us, all wearing the same outfits and kind of look the same. Yeah, but that's a storytelling element. That's not. I don't think they were trying. They weren't at all trying to reflect what would really be the case. But yeah, Malika says Star Trek is very much a meritocracy, Starfleet in itself, and was an omnipresent on and off world, often pushing its peace. That kind of invasions of peace. Yeah, I suppose that was the case. They were exporting. They were very much into exporting peace, peace and prosperity, or else, right? I mean, Star Trek did heavily arm their expansionist fleet, right? So I suppose they were the equivalent of like the smiling faces at Walmart or like Disney World going out to other alien planets. Like, yeah, we're going to be friends, or else. Gaster Two Soul says, and I'm this won't appear fully on the screen, so I'm going to read it here. Azrael's Haven. You and a group of players live inside of a citadel known as Azrael's Haven in the upper reaches. However, you've been framed by an unknown person and are forced to go from living a life of luxury to living life of luxury to working in the harsh conditions of the work section, seeing how your life of luxury has been made through constantly having to work in poor environments. Get paid nothing but food, which may not be made from dead workers and most likely die from poor living conditions. Are we talking about what's Snowpiercer? The people chewing on those big licorice chunks, and then you find out they're just made of recycled other people on the train. Yeah, pretty bad. Uh, TA says, "Yeah, I have said that the only way to get to a benign future is to focus on the replicator type idea tech. Yeah, and let the phasers and warp drives of type ideas wait till we have replicators. If they would wait that long, I don't know if we'll wait that long, but even 3D printing, replicator technology, scarcity. Even if we have an abundance of things, we know in society that there are people who will hoard a thing simply to keep it out of the reach of other people, and we hoard education, we hoard space, we even hoard social interactions. Certain people being with you're not allowed to be in my group unless you're value added to my group. So there's even that, and also there's a negative connotation to work as well. Like we often think of work as today as it can't be the thing that you enjoy, right? Work is what you do to earn a living. Happiness and tranquility and fun and value added and that kind of thing is what you do on the side. That's your hobby. You don't work at that thing. You just do it for you. There's very few people get to enjoy the thing that they do that earns their living, and we often don't consider that to be work, even though it very much may be. Especially entertainment, the arts and entertainment fall into that category. But there's other things too, like the YouTubers that wander the world and show people the amazing things that are in our world, from using cameras to speak to people in dangerous communities, to interviews, to showing them skydiving and things like that. That's considered work. We may not think of it that way, but that's also work as well, because it takes care of their well-being. TA says, if the reverse happens, you get the Empire of the Dark Mirror universe. The Empire, yeah, yeah. Warships and phasers before you get the replicators, right? Yeah. Yep, or worse still, yeah, or worse still, some of the nightmare fuel of Warhammer 40K and Dune. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Dune is very much a the extreme of hoarding, right? We're to keep this whole world to ourselves. The spice must flow. Gaster Two Soul says, and now you are forced to try and find out who was doing this, why they sent you down here, and the deep inner secrets of the Citadel. I could see. I sorry. There's a loud sound in the background. So anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, Gaster Two Souls talking about the idea of an adventure in which you are taken out of your high ranking position, taken down to a low position, and then you have to figure out why you've been demoted and why it is you're working your way back up, and probably pretty horribly figuring out the fact that what kept you up on the high end of society, probably you probably weren't promoting too many good things along the way, I'm sure. But there's a Netflix movie about that. I can't I can't remember the name of it. About there's like a prison that's different levels and food moves down the levels. Oh, I know you guys know it. I know you guys know it. Mike says Babylon 5 Minbari society reflected Japanese feudal caste society with each caste conflicting with the others. Yeah, labor amongst labor among the Minbari was assigned to, well, the lower caste. Yeah, there's always people who, unfortunately, today we do have a lot of work that no one particularly wants to do. And I think there may not be a great desire to automate the things that nobody wants to do, cleaning toilets, that kind of things. But there is the thing, hey movie, yeah. But there is this idea that when we start removing work from society, today we wonder, well, that's called unemployment. What do you do with all the people? What we often don't do is the transfer of, maybe if people were allowed to do the thing they want to do, and instead transfer to a society where people are doing things they want to do because the things that are needed are then automated, right? So we don't know that there's people in society that want to care for the elderly, or to entertain people, or cook for people, or build buildings, or drive people from place to place, if they had the choice to do it on their own, if they didn't have to worry about earning money to do the thing. Because I think universally we all agree that the vast majority of people are doing things they don't enjoy, but they have to do the thing for society. And I wonder if you could mix and match and switch people out of what they're doing because they have to, into doing a thing because they want to. I guarantee you, there's plenty of people who love to build things, but they're stuck in construction because they have to do the thing, right? Yeah, Soylent Green, it's made out of people. Soylent Green Part Two. They changed the formula, but it still got people. Anyway, yeah. Uh, yeah, Gaster says Warhammer 40K. I won't say much about it, but God, if D&D worlds are like campaigns, 40K is like a coffee darker than Vanta Black. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's so black that it's able to absorb sunlight and heat itself up again. Yeah. Wow. That would be pretty interesting. A Vanta Black cup of coffee that heats itself. Yeah, I think there's even I believe there's an experimental black called Muso Black, Musou, that's even darker than Vanta. There's a video out where a guy painted a car in Muso Black, and you kind of couldn't see it. It looked like it was flat. It's pretty cool. Um, BattleTech. BattleTech's future aspect is purely feudal. Great houses, overlords, khans, pirate kings. Work, however, remains very capitalist. Yeah, it's hard to get away from that. Anyway, so Movacall says, "What are we talking about?" Well, we're talking about the future of work, and we're going to get to the disappearance of work and how to like kind of in because we are a role playing channel. How to make adventures around the idea that work doesn't exist any longer or in a very limited capacity, and how do different societies value work. And because today, like I said, work is really defined as the thing you got to do to earn a living, not the thing that you want to do. And then we are compensated with a value, money, as opposed to being compensated with other things like uh, there are other side things to work like prestige and value to the community and that kind of thing. And I think work, if you got rid of money, I think people would still work for the other things that are around it. Like Anderson was saying about clout and respect and value because of your brilliance or your ingenuity or changing people's lives and things like that. So and it's difficult because money has a we all we may not all agree on what the value of something is, like buying a house or a car or something. Like some of us may think it's too expensive, something might think it's cheap, but we all know what the numbers mean, right? If you pull whatever the money is from your part of the world and you pull it out, everyone agrees that the monetary value on that note or coin is the same. But when it comes to reputation and things, that's hard, really hard to value. And online, we value it with like likes, subscribes, comments, shares, and things of that nature. And we know that kind of doesn't work out the way we thought it should. Yeah. All right, we're getting there, Z. We're getting there. Thomas Anderson says, "There's a bizarre story called Scythian or Kythion or something like that, where hell is a series of catacombs and natural caves that garnets are mined and sent to the surface for food." That's it. Thank you, Z. Z brought up the movie Platform. It's great, just beautiful. Has a pimping old man with a knife, uh, and a black guy with a pole. Yeah, that's Platform's pretty dark. When you strip society away from things and you have a structure, it's pretty interesting how people just devolve. It's pretty nasty, but yeah, Platform. Thank you so much about that, Z. Yeah, I'm behind schedule on this because you guys are brilliant. So yeah. Mm-mm-mm. For TA's comment about Scythian or Kythion, says it turned out that the planet was considered a heaven paradise. Was the world it was on basically motivated those who have not found motivation. Ooh, that's nasty. That's nasty. All right, M. M squared says hoarding time, money, possessions, people, etc., is a part of Earth culture, especially in the United States. Majority of our sci-fi has reflected these images, i.e., Matrix, Fifth Element, yeah, Star Wars, Mad Max, yeah, hoarding things is a big deal. By the way, the Matrix Resurrection trailers came out. It's pretty cool, very good. I hope I whoever cut that trailer is sweet. Oh man. Anyway, Zamara says, I am sure if you take care of the basic needs of everyone, society will split in two. Okay. One half, probably less, will start using the free time to start innovating. The other, nothing. See, and that's where the today, even though people aren't futurists, is the conflict of like, okay, so if there's less work for people to do because things are becoming automated and you've got a larger growing population and you take care of everyone's needs, will people just become lazy and not do anything? Okay. And then what do you do with the lazy people if you still got people that need to work? And um, I think it's because part of our society is that we are not conditioned to do the thing we want to do. We're conditioned to do the thing that needs to be done. And if a machine of some sort does the thing that needs to be done, then where do we stand? So we don't have a larger society where we do things we want to do. Now there are people that break away, right? Like I want to become a performer and play music, and that person tends to be the offshoot when everyone's looking at them like, well, what do you mean you didn't go to college? And what do you mean you didn't get a 9 to 5, right? But we still value those people. Now, would we have a world filled with entertainers or something? I don't think that. But if you turn positive on it, maybe people, I think you'll get a larger percentage than we want doing nothing. But I think people are far more innovative than we give credit because none of us have time to do the thing that we truly want to do. And I think in small parts too. Um, there are people right now toiling away hours upon hours who are expert cooks and teachers and motivators and would love to join others in building a better society, but they don't have time to do it. And there's no way to measure that, right? Like I'm self-admittedly I flip positive on that. So I can see a lot of people who work their, they work in a community where everybody's working hard. It's pretty difficult to put that down and go like, well, there's just going to be a world full of lazy people. Well, from that point of view, I can see where it comes from, right? If you're a fifth generation construction worker, you're going to look around at people like, shit, it's just going to be a bunch of people being lazy and doing nothing, which I can't say, well, you're wrong, but I think we don't give people enough credit. But anyway, um, hey, Bray. All right. Anyway, Bray. Yeah, in fantasy, most work would consist of trade and farming, which, considering magic exists, would really reduce the amount of people required compared to history. And that depends on how much magic there is, right? Like if there's one individual, I don't know if that individual could feed and care for like 50,000. But if you've got one in every 1,000 people has magic, one in every 100, probably one in every 1,000, maybe one in every 10,000 or something. Yeah, you'd have. It wouldn't be necessary to struggle as much, right? Zamara says, bringing my comment back to your video yesterday. Okay, it depends on which side locks out. Okay, so it locks out on who has the most innovators as to which side will take over. The side who will go out of their way to make their life easier so they can do more with less, and those who will start making making weird shit. It will be like when Germany was doing research during World War II. Ooh, yeah, you could start hoarding knowledge. One group, if it's not money, people might start hoarding innovators, the intelligent people, and then the innovators, the motivators of a society, they'll will people will start collecting around them. So it's like, hey, I'm not brilliant, but I'm smart enough to collect the brilliant people around me and keep them away from you. I could see that as what a weird backwards what a backwards dystopia. A bunch of brilliant people defended by a bunch of muscle. Yeah, it might flip the script on athletes getting paid more money. The scientists get paid or get far more respect than anybody. Um, all right. Anyway, Gasper says, I imagine also within Azrael's Haven, this hypothetical homebrew, there could be possibly elements where you might have to wear specific clothes that might maybe prevent getting something like pneumonia, or maybe have to eat various things like cockroaches. Ooh, it sounds kind of brutal there, dude. Or maggots to get enough nutrients before you die. Yeah. If you want to, if You want to talk grimdark? That sounds grimdark. It's like, oh, there's no food, but there sure is a dead body of a person you just killed with a brick. What are you gonna do? Mm, I roll my my wretch ability and I get a crit. Great, I won't throw up. Movicall says there's an anime that was kind of meh, but it had a great premise: a human society that created a fully automated, ever self-growing city. Okay, everything automated until the system rejected humanity as useful and reacted to them like a bacteria against a bacteria against an immune system. A D&D campaign in such a world could be cool. Ooh, me likes that. Me likes that a lot. Yeah. Now, of course, we do have the machines versus humanity, humanity being useless. But in Wally, it was a combination of the two, right? People, big, you know, obese people floating in chairs, barely being able to lean over to drink out of a cup and press a button for their favorite movies to pacify them. And the machines were taking care of humanity. And then, of course, humans come back to, spoiler alert, humans come back to Earth and start growing things again and start to clean up and start becoming physically productive. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Michael says sci-fi also seems to reflect the concept of colonial expansion. Yeah, it does. World A sends pioneers to World B without looking to see if World B belongs to anyone. A struggle for resources then becomes a war. Seriously, you got to talk about the states. We discovered it. People already here, like, no, we were already here. Mike goes on to say, so you have what look like simple farmers being attacked by warriors, only to find out that the farmers were being used to trigger a war. Ooh. Z's like, I'm done. I hope that means you're not. Do you have to go? Mm-mm-mm. Oh, you're done with your comment. Okay, okay. I was like, wait, don't go away. Oh man. All right, I know I'm catching up. I'm sliding down. There we go. Okay, I know where I'm at. So Bray says a society that cannot advance is bound to fall into stagnation. The Eldar from 40K are a great example. They split in two: those who seek the old ways of the Eldar, and those who are interested in being nothing but dirty sweat goblins who kidnap and ooh, it won't all fit. Oops, yeah, who kidnap and torture people. Now, I think because of our modern way of looking at things, I think there's people who we would still have people who are innovators because they want to innovate, not because it'll make them rich or prosperous. Or we might flip the table, meaning like instead of people getting paid to do a thing to innovate, we might have innovators who then receive something on the tail end and are given value by the rest of the community for the people who do innovate, right? Um, for example, we do have a large we do have people who, with removing the need for them to have to work to survive, look at mountains and go, I'm gonna get to the top of that mountain because it's there, right? So how many of those people would be in our society, as in we want to get to Saturn, and removing the necessity to have to work to get there, would people then work to get there? Right, if you remove the monetary needs and all that kind of stuff, the need to have to pay your rent, and just go, hey, everybody that's intelligent enough to get us to Saturn, here, you work on this project, and we're going to give you whatever you need through automation or whatever. I still think there would be people that way. The population of like lazy people, we'll argue forever on that one. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people who do not listen. I'm in the minority on this one. There's a lot of people who would just say we'll just become a welfare state. Unfortunately, maybe we might get there sooner than we think, and we'll have to rethink what we value then as a society. Mike says, not sure if this has been done yet, but I can see an advanced society sending a fleet of robots, to a new world to terraform it. They become the builders, the farmers, and so on, that develop a world, which is then followed by whatever organic being to inhabit the world once it has atmosphere generators and food. There, what's the movie? I mean, book series. Red Mars, Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars. They did that. They sent automated craft to Mars to start assembling like nuclear power plants and places to sleep. It wasn't terraforming, but the robots arrived to assemble a network of things so that when the colonists arrived, it was 100 of them. When the colonists, well, 100 didn't make it, but anyway, first 100 arrived, they had a place to live, as opposed to, hey, ship lands, we don't have anything, right? So, and but that has a lot to do with automation, like how much you could, if you could send robots to terraform another world, is it necessary for human beings to even be there? Right? Like, if you can send, if an automated system can get there, is there any need for us to even be there when the automated systems could just send us back information? Now, of course, the reason why we would want to go there is because we want to go, right? There might not be any other need for us to go except to just go. And why can't that just be a motivation in and amongst itself, right? Mofakal says, when people are freed up from farming due to innovations in agriculture, the large farmer armies decreased and the professional armies and specialized jobs increased due to freeing up the workforce. That's, which is hope, wishful thinking would happen for us today. Automation will again free up large parts of the. Sorry, let's get back to this. Shit. Sorry about that. Large parts. There. Automation will again free up large parts of the workforce, creating interesting possibilities for lots of sci-fi fantasy premises. Yeah, but what would I agree with Movacall in the sense that when you today we are inundated with the struggles of surviving. But if we really think about it, what we consider struggling today is not a struggle in the past. Every generation we are getting better at surviving the things that happened in the past generations. So for example, how much panic do people have when they don't have they lose their phone or they don't have a Wi-Fi connection, whereas in the past that concept didn't even exist for people to worry about, right? So our lifestyle is getting better, period. It's just every generation it's getting better, despite the fact that even today we have people struggling. So as while we may eliminate things, I think there will still be more things for us to, I think as a society, we're always going to find things to struggle past. Like I don't believe it'll be. I don't think people will just raise their hands up and go, "Up, we're done. We've got everything automated. I think I'm just going to relax." I think there's always going to be a desire to move on, and I think even without those struggles, I think we might even find more struggles to engage in. We still have survivalists and sports and competition that we don't need to engage in, but we still do it. So I think there's something intrinsic in our society about challenge that we might artificially even create those things. Malika says currency is valued, honored, accepted due to what is important to a certain society's social and financial structure at its particular place in time. And like farming communities, hey, if I've got the best chickens, then my value goes up to the community. I can trade my chickens for a cart. I can trade my chickens to get your family to help me dig the rocks out of this field that I want to grow plants in. I can give you chickens that are going to that brings visitors to our farming community because we've got the best chickens, right? And that kind of thing. So I think maybe we might. I mean, there are lots of people today that throw off the shackles of society to engage in struggles, right? Like, I'm going to climb that mountain. Couldn't you just get in a helicopter and fly to the top or something? Or a hot air balloon? No, they're like, no, I'm going to do it by hand. So there might be that too, as well. I don't know. AG says to consider, okay? Unearned abundance and leisure has a tendency to breed complacency and decadence. Okay, I agree with that. The Romans that built the Republic were abstinent. The that inherited the empire decadent. Ooh, okay, all right, okay. I'm not going to argue that. Okay, all right. That's that's my proof negative individuals. I listen. I'm not here to argue one or the other. Or yeah, I am. I'm a little bit of a devil's advocate. Well, the I'm more of a Celestine advocate. But yeah, I wonder if I wonder with what you're saying that there's also a reflection in society against the people who are the complacent and decadent. Is there how much of a space would society build that if they saw so much of their society being complacent and decadent, that the others will go, you know what, all you guys are lazy asses. I'm going to find something else to do, and we are going to work together to do a thing because we don't want to be like you, even if things are taken care of, right? I don't know. I think there's a story element involved in it. Zamar says they started the Drukari fit the small group of innovators in this scenario. They started making new tech to keep themselves alive and found out that the answer was pain and souls. Ooh, ooh. Answers, yeah, but they kind of needed to innovate because of the disaster. Before the birth of the Slanish, they were stagnant and hedonistic impulses. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mike. Yeah, I'd say my favorite robot from Wall-E was the hairdresser martial arts robot. I barely remember that one. I barely remember that one. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Oh man. All right. Okay. So Zamara says little known fact. Okay, the Eldar were split into three factions. I call them the progressive faction, the Drukari. Okay, the conservative faction, the Eldar, and the isolationists, the Luddites. The Luddites are somewhere in the outer rim of the galaxy. Likely, they met the Tyranids first when they entered in um, entered in our galaxy. As soon as you have an increase in the amount of machines, you will create a greater need for programmers to improve them and repairmen to fix them. I wonder how much of that will be a thing too, right? Like we've heard here in the states, and I'm sure elsewhere in the world, we've to bring this more to our modern day about eliminating truck drivers and having trucks automated, and how much of a multi-billion-dollar, it might even be trillion-dollar industry it would be to automate transporting goods from one place to another without people. And some of the talk about that has been, well, truck drivers will have to retrain themselves to do other things. We talk about, you can talk about this with like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, where the video rental industry completely collapsed, but those people had to go somewhere else to find other work. And as automation gets better at doing things, like for example, there are vocal automation systems that can answer phones and take dictation and make appointments where you won't need to have people answer phones. And a lot of that detailed work, service work, is starting to get automated. Where do those people go to find other things? Do they become programmers? How many programmers do you need per, like, is it a one-to-one? Every truck driver is replaced with one programmer, or is it like 50 truck drivers go away and is replaced with one programmer to do a thing? Maybe those people end up monitoring things, or maybe the people are moved away from where the thing is done, so truck drivers can drive from home, and they remotely drive vehicles from the comfort of their own home, and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, it's really weird. How do you have, like, here would be an interesting adventure idea, would be that players arrive somewhere where more than half of the things done are automated, or they're done remotely, so that players might have to confront enemies that aren't there. They're actually remote somewhere else, being operating remote vehicles or machines or robots or synthezoids or whatever from a distant location. and even maybe even the player characters are remotely operating their player characters in this other world, so that on one hand, you know, maybe you could kind of, they're disposable in a way, but on the other hand, you might want to sneak around because if they find out who you are, then you might have a twofold combat kind of thing going on where someone's trying to zero in on where you're beaming your signal from and things like that. It'd be kind of cool. Mike Gould says Total Recall had Johnny Cab robotic taxis. Yep, be long before Uber, right? Or even remote vehicles and stuff. I can totally see this coming to fruition, albeit without the creepy doll man driver. Yeah, the same applies to truck drivers, commercial pilots, etc. Yeah, yeah, and where do the depending on how much of an application it is, would this be small increments or super wide increments where you're getting rid of hundreds of thousands of people with an extremely short amount of time? I mean, when you have automated trucks, do they go out in a fleet of like 3 or 4 and then 12 and then 50? Or is it a fleet like 200,000 trucks on the East Coast of the US and then another, 1.5 million being built and blah, blah, ugh. All right, who's this? DM DM says we see the effect of this in shit. Did I miss one of your comments here? Sorry about that. Here we go. When initial computers were invented, they replaced calculators or the people who were hired to calculate math problems for higher level functioning. As a matter of fact, if you see the movie Hidden Figures, though the people in Hidden Figures, the women in Hidden Figures at the end of the movie, you'll see them using these punch cards, which were the mechanical calculations done for computers. There were these punch cards. I still remember those punch cards because my mom was trained on using them. And then the people went away because the computers could then do the calculation themselves. And the computers got smaller and faster and smaller and faster. So yeah. Anyway, DM goes on to say, we see the effect of this in the movie Hidden Figure. I didn't even. Sorry. Anyway, in the movie Hidden Figures, where a whole division of people lost their jobs to be replaced by now computer calculators. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And someone had to learn how to take care of them. I think, um, much like the oh the the super brilliant individuals that we have problems with today is what may happen is that as yeah, like mine. Yeah, I didn't even see the comment. I've got the comment on the side, and I try to respond without uh, predicting something. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what might a dangerous thing that might happen is maybe people become too smart too quickly. Follow me on this, okay? Some today we now have the ability to have an innovator create something that doesn't just affect one or two or 50 people or 1,000 people, but could be worldwide. Let's look at Google and Facebook and Tesla and PayPal and Amazon, right? Someone could create a thing that the application of that innovation destroys something else that we already have in society. Now, when I say the word destruction, there it might some people might say it's a painful growth. Other people might say you're destroying our society. And an example of that would be someone creates an exo womb, right? For the good purpose of going, hey, you know what? There's children born prematurely. We need to have these boxes that help children grow with all the nutrients they need, like a womb. And from inception to birth, they can be put in the box and yay, I did a great thing. And everyone claps their hands and they go, great. And then people can buy it for like $500. So how does that change society? That, people might get upset when they're like, well, that polyamorous group over there of 3 women and 4 guys is raising children in boxes, and we don't approve of that because it it's something against my religious affiliation or whatever, right? Or you get dictatorial societies that are like, hey, we're gonna grow our own soldiers and whatnot, so on and so forth. And it could get very dystopian off of a thing where a person goes, wow, I'm so glad I didn't have to worry about having to work for a living, and I could develop this thing to help children survive, right? And that's just off the top. I just pulled that out of my ass right now. So we could have a dystopian future of too many innovators. I don't know. That might be a thing. All right, let me sorry, let me get back into you co-hosts here. Um, oops. Why won't it slide? Come on, slide. There we go. Zamara says, well, from a voice actor perspective, okay, some of us are losing our work to automated voices. Yes, mostly YouTube videos, as machines are cheaper, but as of right now, us humans are faster and sound better. You know what? There's even talking about the voice acting. There are people pushing the idea that uh, we all know about YouTube strikes. For those who don't know, on YouTube, if you take someone else's material, music, video, imagery, you can be stricken, meaning like you're stealing someone else's material. I think YouTube now has algorithms that you can't steal other people's voices, and even actors and actresses are protecting themselves against their likenesses being used for other purposes, like my likeness being used to make a doll or a painting or a photograph or a lithograph or t-shirts or something like that, and to protect themselves. But we have technology that makes, what is it? We have AI technology that makes fake people, and we do have technology that can make fake voices, and the ability to use AI to mimic human intonations, which is pretty bad there, Zamara. So yeah, I'm with you. Oh man. Mike says we already have remote military drone pilots operating low altitude combat missions in hostile territory. Yeah, yeah. Having a remote commercial pilot operate at high altitude seems like a cakewalk. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. And you could have pilots operating at all around the world at different time periods, right? Like someone could wake up at midnight. You could have people working 9 to 5 jobs, but they're operating distant vehicles in another time zone in other parts of the world. Or one person could be operating 15 different vehicles based on a schedule. Like, oh, I'm going to fly from Madagascar to, whatever. And then when that vehicle lands, they just click over to their next scheduled flight. Oh, I'm going to fly out of California, head over to Japan, and boom, take off in the vehicle, and they're flying it. And you can even have redundant systems. A pilot, co-pilot do not have to live in the same city and be nowhere near the vehicle or something. And like you said, military operators are flying vehicles low altitude. And you guys have seen the drone ships, right? Long straight wings, the strange pyramidal looking wings on the back. They have, missiles and guns on them, but they don't have to look that way. In the future, they can look humanoid, or as we know, robots in the future won't be humans doing a thing, but mostly robots will be specified for a particular operation. And why wouldn't people be operating those things as drone pilots from a distant location? Which kind of brings up the fact that could be a two-step military operation, getting rid of the remote operated vehicles, and then finding out where the signal is sent from a distant location by the military, where you may have to be where the people piloting might have to be mobile as well as piloting the mobile things units at the same time, which is why, what is it, the high altitude planes, radar systems, the AWACS jets or something that operate remote vehicles as well, or they're always located like somewhere in a deep mountain in the United States, or on a aircraft carrier or a battleship out to sea or something like that. Oh man, kind of we're going off on this. Let's see. Mike says it's the Jeff Goldblum statement from Jurassic Park. Okay, you develop a thing because you could because you could without considering if you should. Yeah, yeah. we we could flip the script on innovation by going, you know what? We've eliminated the the need for people to struggle. We have enough space. We got enough automation. We can get people food. We can clothe people. We can feed people. Hey, now we're going to just be in an age of enlightenment where we're just going to have people. We're going to have our society innovate to the extreme, and people are like, "Great, I'm going to start innovating." Clickety clackety click, and everyone's like, "Whoa." Maybe we shouldn't give out military enabled robots to everybody. And like, why not? We it doesn't matter. The machines are just going to punch them out. Here, you get a robot and you get a robot. Yeah, why don't we just download our brains and overclock our brains and blah 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 and make copies of our brains and all that kind of business tomorrow. Malika, says Demolition Man was a great example of man trying to exist in a majority uh, automated world where humans became lazy and codependent at the expense of living in a fake utopia. Yeah. Now, listen, I'm not denying that complacency and decadence would happen when you start eliminating the need to work, the need to exert yourself to achieve something in the world. But I will say that every single generation that has gotten a better lifestyle than the next generation still feels that that specific generation has struggles. So in the future, we can see ourselves living better. But in I wonder what is considered a struggle and a need to get rid of something would happen in the future if you were to slowly eliminate the need for feeding people, housing people, the need to work for a job, the need for monies. Like, what would be the struggle? Would the struggle be um, like it is online today? Would the struggle be um, attention? We now live online in an attention valued society that we we are 50,000 people in a stadium, and only a few people get to go up on the jumbotron when the camera points at you. The rest of the people is you're just lost in the crowd. You can't find anyone in the crowd. So you might have a great idea, but maybe your great idea can't be found by other people. Maybe that becomes the new struggle in the future. That, hey, I've got this great idea that solves another one of humanity's problems, but no one knows who I am and how I can use my great idea to help society. Now I need to work to find someone who is popular enough to want to promote my idea to get everybody else to use it. Right. It's like, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to come up with a struggle in a society where you don't have to work classically, and it can be difficult. I wonder if the the lazy, complacent part of society doesn't become the norm, but that the people that poke their heads up and go, I'm not doing this any longer. I'm not sitting on my ass. I'm gonna go do something. I wonder if they become the rare individuals, and maybe they become like they're like road warriors out there in these like city states that are like gilded cage city states, and they're out there in the wild. Like, hey, are you a worker? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Zamara says these scenarios are perfect for a campaign. Okay, players having to constantly prove themselves better and worth more than the tech that is being improved to replace their skills for cheaper. Here we go. Uh, excuse me, replacing their skills for cheaper because there are less people learning said skill due to the fact that the industry that it supports has become so bloated. Yeah, yeah. I mean, um, strange. Okay, here's let me see if I can pull this out of my ass. Um, Steve Jobs creates the smartphone, the touch screen, one button smartphone that has become the standard today. And the worry was when Steve Jobs passed that no one would innovate that innovation. So it could be that society has gotten to the point where they've innovated enough that they've become complacent. So, once people can float in chairs and just lean over and suck a soft drink and go, click Netflix, right? Maybe people stop innovating, and the PCs are like, we're not done yet. Like, how can we learn more things? There's oh shit. There's a short story from the '60s where oh man. Anyway, the short story was um, children were being raised to learn a specific skill, and you took a test to figure out what group you would be in, and you would learn that skill. And the main character is looking around and is frustrated because he's like, A, I don't want to learn that skill. B, I've already learned that skill and it's too simple. I think there's a better way of doing a thing. And the society was built around the idea that you weren't supposed to break the norm. The main character breaks out of the system and basically makes a run for it, gets captured by the authorities, thinks he's going to get punished, gets taken into another room, and is like, we need you to improve the old system. And they literally created a system. The societal system was they were looking for people who were trying to break the system because those were the innovators that would make the rest of the system better. So the people who bought into it were like the drones of society. Oh, I'm going to learn the thing and do the thing, and I don't care, blah, 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 blah. But there were these other fewer people that were like looking around like, there's a better way of doing this. Like, but they had to fight knowing they would be punished or believing themselves to be punished. They had to fight against it. And then the society was like, yeah, we're going to arrest you and punish you. But then behind the scenes, they were like, psst, we're actually going to reward you because we need you. And he was recruited into this thing of like, yeah, we have to make sure that we find those innovators, and those innovators have to push past the dronish of the dronish thing, like you guys were saying earlier. And so, yeah, there's a thing. That is an idea. I'm gonna have to get out of here soon. Mike Gould says this is the basis of both Terminator and The Matrix. Yeah, we made robots do things we shouldn't have. Yeah, not that we couldn't have, but we shouldn't have. Mike goes on to say Logan's Run went into a future society that was a utopia for those under a certain age. The fear was overpopulation within cities, so those of a certain age were killed. I think it was 30 for Logan's Run, and there were a lot of movies back in like the mid 60s, early 70s that dealt with that kind of thing. Logan's Run, Soylent Green, um, oh man, Thunderball. Yeah, there were a lot of those. Yeah, there was. Mike says there was no labor cast to my recollection. I don't believe so. I don't believe they had to struggle for anything. What was another one? The Island. Zamar says, DBJ, please find the name of that book. I will owe you a nice bottle of mead if you do. I will even make it to whatever flavor you want. Here's what I'll do. That book, the book of short stories that I have is sitting over my nightstand. So I will promise you this. I'll find the book and I will get the name of the book and show it on air. I can't leave here because the bedroom's downstairs. But the short story I'm talking about is literally, and the short stories were written back between the 50s to 70s, and there's a bunch of short stories, and that was one of them. That was one of them in there. So yeah, I'll find it. And when I say short stories, like they were, um, oh, I guess you could call them like micro novels. Where you would anyway, yes. I'll guarantee. I can't get it now and I can't think of it, but I will find it. I'll find the author and the book it's in and all that kind of stuff because I'll have it on there. I'll promise you that. M says one of the future struggles in the future is more societal awkwardness due to the expansion of automation and people's lack of personal connection and interaction because social media dictates our lives. What do you mean future? It's hard for people to talk to each other now. I mean, how many? Sorry to say this to all of you who are working in the retail industry, but how many times have we come across an individual that is lacking of interpersonal nuance? There is even a movement to get our automated machines, Google, Siri, Cortana, etc., to start using polite interactions with us to act and react so that we have to say please, thank yous, and can I and may I's in our words to get young people to start being more polite. um, yeah, but yeah, that sorry. Back to your comment. Future today. Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole of listening to Kevin Samuels. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Zamara says, anyway, good morning, and remember, innovation is the destruction of humanity and the birth of something greater or worse. Hey, Mike, sign us off. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got that right. I don't know. I think we're going to have huge growing pains, man. I don't know. As we wait for, because Mike's going to get us all shiny and chrome, I'm sure. But yes, I think you know, even bringing up like universal basic income and that kind of thing. I mean, what happens when huge swaths of our we already are in a position where we don't have enough people to do the work that's done, and most of us believe that the overabundance of work and the overabundance of work and the lack of employees has nothing to do with the lack of a population, that we're like, yeah, effing lazy asses, go get a job. Like we're pissed off at that, right? So, but what do you do? Right? The situation already exists. What do you do? Do you do you say, hey, people who don't want to work, you're just going to have to struggle, knowing that that becomes a thing? We know that when people struggle, they start breaking societal rules. You know, there's criminality and drugs and other disruptors in society that we, you know, that once we start wanting to make city states and walls and keep those people away from us and blah blah blah. Or do you go the other way, which politicians are trying to do because they know they have to pacify part of the population by going, here's some free food, here's some free money, here's some free living places, because we don't want you randomly running around the streets being idle and not doing anything. So what do you do? And I think strangely, I think there's even space for storytelling, because we are RPG group right here, right? So how funny would it be for player characters to arrive somewhere and they get there and they're just like, you know, they're like gun toting, like, we got to do the mission, and everyone's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just relax. And they're like, well, we've got to do the thing to get the thing done to go do the thing, and everyone's like, we'll get to it some point in time. I don't know. Just sit back, relax. And everybody's like this passive aggressive, like, they're like, fuck. Why can't we go to a world where we're being hunted and murdered instead of a bunch of people just sitting around not doing anything? They're like, dude, Netflix and chill, man. Just whatever. Anyway, guys, have a great one. We went a little late today, as we normally do. Thanks for being part of the show. You guys know you're the brilliant ones to help bring the channel to life, so I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we're getting more staff at the post office, so maybe I might have more hours to get back to the Monday through Friday. Although it didn't, it dawned on me that Monday and Tuesday sounds like MT, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is WTF. But anyway, there's a little bit of a joke there. Guys, have a great one, and peace. Everybody have a great one. I will see thee later. See